Hey guys, welcome back. In this Blender video, we're going to model a mechanical cam lever handle. We'll be using some simple hard surface modeling techniques to create this model from start to finish. So whether you're here to practice or just learn something new, I hope you find this tutorial helpful. So let's not waste any time and let's jump right in. First, let's add a plane mesh. Now I have a side view reference image of the handle, so I'll add it here. Let's move it to the center. Now let's decrease the opacity of the image so we can see everything more clearly. Here, let's scale the reference image, so the handle in the reference image matches the size of the plane. To make it easier to see, I'll quickly extrude the plane upward. Now scale the handle in the reference image until it matches the size of the plane, there. I'll position it something like this. Now delete the top part that we extruded. Next, we'll scale the plane from the side. So how do we know the exact size? If you look at the reference image, there's a circular cylinder-like part here. We can use that to get the correct size. So let's add a cylinder and position it on that part to match. Now scale it until it matches the size of the cylinder in the reference image. Once that's done, we can scale the plane from the side to match the size of the cylinder. Since the cylinder is perfectly round on all sides, we know the plane is now scaled to the correct size there. Scale the plane and keep it slightly inside the cylinder. Now hide the cylinder and let's work on the plane. Add a loop cut right in the middle. Then add a few loop cuts on the other side, keeping this nice and even and square. Now if you look at the reference image, the front part is slightly broader, so let's make that part a little wider. First, turn on proportional editing, then change the fall off type to inverse square. Now using the scroll wheel, while scaling in the Y direction, adjust the fall off to make this part a little wider. Now change the fall off type to sharp, and now scale over here to get this shape properly. Here, I'll just move these edges a little farther, so this area stays nice and even, square, and evenly spaced. Then over here, just fine-tune the shape a little so it looks right. Now that the top side is done, let's adjust the shape from the side. Now select and move these vertices, one by one, adjusting them to match the handle in the reference image. Now this part here is slightly lower, so let's select those vertices and then move them down a little to get that nice curved shape here. Move them down like this, shaping it nicely here. Now that the top part is done, let's select the whole thing and then extrude it down for the bottom part. Now just align the vertices with the bottom sketch line in the reference image. Now here we've only tweaked one side. To mirror it to the other side, let's use symmetrize. Then in the bottom corner, choose the correct axis to mirror. Now we need more geometry to add the other details here. So let's add a subdivision modifier with one level, and then we'll apply it so we get that more geometry there. Before we apply it, we need to maintain these sharp edges. We don't want to bevel them because that will add unnecessary geometry. So instead, we'll add a crease for now for all sharp edges. Here, delete these back faces. Then select all the sharp edges. To select them quickly, go to Select and choose Sharp Edges. This will select them quickly. Unselect the edges that we don't want to make sharp. Then press Shift-E and add a crease. This will maintain our sharp edges there. Now, after adding the subdivision surface modifier, the mesh will become smooth and it will shrink a little. So just move these vertices here to get the shape right after the modifier. Just tweak them a little. Now that this is looking good, let's apply the one-level subdivision modifier. Before applying it, you can keep an extra copy of the mesh just in case something gets messed up later. Then go ahead and apply the modifier. Dissolve this edge, we don't need it over here. Now on this corner, connect these vertices by pressing J. Connect at both top and bottom. Then select these edges and dissolve them. I did this to route the edge flow around the corner, keeping the geometry clean and pushing that intersection point away from the border. Now here, slide these edges so everything is spaced out nicely. We can also select this edge and use Set Flow, so this curve looks nice and smooth. Now here, we'll remove the crease we added by pressing Shift-E. Then drag this all the way down to -1, or press -1 on the keyboard. After that, let's use Symmetrize. Now we'll work on this back circular part. First, place the 3D cursor over here. Then let's add a circle. Set it to View, so it faces the view. Then set the vertices to 16, a little lower, so it's easier to connect this nicely. Now scale it, and match it with the circular part in the reference image. Then extrude and scale the circle toward the outer side. Now we'll connect the main mesh with the circle. Delete the extra back part first. Now turn on Auto Merge here at the top. Then select this edge to snap. First, change the snapping type to Vertex. Now move this edge and snap it to this vertex. Press S, Shift Y, so it only scales on the X and Z axes and not the Y axis. Now delete this part. Snap this edge over here. Delete this part as well. Now select all these edges. Then press F to fill here. Now extrude this circular part and snap it to the inner part. Delete these faces here. Now select this edge. Then extrude it to the middle and snap it there. Check if everything is connected properly. We'll also delete these faces here, so this area opens up more. Then connect these vertices here to fix this. Now select both these edge loops, then use bridge edge loops to connect them. Now to fix this here, move and snap these vertices like this. And now that's fine there. Now let's use Symmetrize to mirror it, and now that's looking perfect. Now we'll work on the bottom cylindrical part. Unhide the cylinder that we added at the start. First, move the top face of this cylinder down. Now snap it to this vertex, lining it up with that vertex. Now we need to cut the cylinder where the top circular part is intersecting using a Boolean. First, select these faces of the bottom part. Press Shift-D to duplicate them. Then separate them by selection. Now we'll use that separated part as the Boolean target to cut the mesh. Here, scale this part sideways and make it wider so it cuts through the entire whole side mesh. Now let's add a one-level subdivision modifier to the mesh so it has more geometry, becomes nicely smooth and curved, and matches the bottom cylinder better for connecting. Then apply the one-level subdivision modifier. Now snap the top face of this cylinder, aligning it with this edge here. So snap with that edge, vertex, so it connects perfectly later. Now add a Boolean modifier to the cylinder. Then use the eyedropper and select the separated mesh as the target. After adding the Boolean, the mesh isn't cutting. To fix that, change the solver from exact to float. And that works. Now it cuts the mesh. Now that the mesh is cut, apply the Boolean modifier. Now slide and connect these vertices that aren't connected. Dissolve this unnecessary edge here. Now select the whole mesh, press M, and choose by distance to merge any overlapping vertices left after the Boolean. Now connect these two vertices by pressing J to add a cut in the middle. Now select these top faces, then inset them inward a little. Now after the inset, this edge isn't straight. To fix that, enable Edge Rail in this panel. That will keep the edges straight and maintain the shape. Now let's build perfect quad geometry and remove the n-gons. Add two vertices here by pressing Ctrl-R. Then connect these vertices. Now add 4 loop cuts here. After that, connect these vertices like this. Now slide this vertex a little. Slide these vertices as well to make this area nice and even. Now do the same on the other side. Connect these vertices like this. Then add 2 loop cuts here. Connect these vertices here. Add another cut and connect these vertices. Then slide this vertex a little. Now select the whole mesh and use Symmetrize to mirror it over to the other side. Now we'll do this bottom part. Select the bottom faces of the cylinder and move them up to here. Then extrude them downward. Now this part is a little wider, so select these faces, then press Alt-E and choose Extrude Along Normals. Extrude them outward a little like this. Now at the bottom, select this part and scale it in a little. After that, use grid fill to fill this perfectly. Then, in the bottom corner panel, tweak the value to align the edges so they're nice and straight. Now select these edge loops, then bevel them, make the profile shape 1, and then add a loop cut in the middle. Now let's bevel all the sharp edges of this mesh. First, recalculate the normals by pressing Shift-N, then apply the scale. Now before beveling all the sharp edges, let's bevel only this edge over here. This is because we want to keep this part a little rounded. Now connect these vertices like this so we can bevel this area cleanly. At the bottom, connect these vertices as well. Now select the edges of this part, then bevel them. Keep the profile shape at 0.5 so this part stays a little rounded. If it's too sharp, you might get a few artifacts on this part. Now dissolve these edges over here and keep it like this. At the bottom also, see that you dissolve those edges. Now let's bevel all the sharp edges. To select them quickly, go to Select and choose Sharp Edges. Now unselect the edges where we don't want the bevel. We've already beveled this edge, so let's unselect it. Once everything is selected properly, bevel the edges. This time, keep the profile shape at 1. Also change this to Arc and turn off Loop Slide. Now you can see this part is nicely rounded while the other side is still too sharp. Now let's add a subdivision surface modifier. Then shade the object smooth. Now you can see the difference between both sides. The side with the 0.5 bevel profile is nicely rounded, while the other side is too sharp and might have a little pinching. Now we can just symmetrize this to the other side. Here, let's make this circular hole slightly smaller. Now let's symmetrize the mesh to mirror it to the other side. Now let's create the rod passing through the middle here. Select these faces over here. Press Shift-D to duplicate them. Then press P and separate them by selection. Now select this edge and snap it all the way to the side. Then snap this edge loop on the other side. Add a loop cut in the middle. Now move this part slightly outward. Add a few loop cuts over here. Then symmetrize this mesh. Now select these faces over here. Press Shift-D to duplicate them, then separate them by selection. Now extrude and scale this out a little. Select this edge and fill it, then inset it inward. Now use grid fill, then align the edges so they're straight. Now bevel this edge, then symmetrize this mesh. Now let's connect this part to the bottom part. First, select both objects and press Ctrl-J to join them into one. Now select these faces over here. Then on the bottom part, select the same number of faces. Now use bridge edge loops to connect them. Select this edge, then press SY0 to flatten it and make it straight. Now move and snap this edge to straighten it. Now that this is connected, let's bevel these sharp edges to keep them sharp. Select all these edges here. Once selected, then bevel them. Now use Symmetrize to mirror it to the other side. Now add a subdivision surface modifier. Shade it smooth. Shade the other parts smooth as well, and add a subdivision modifier also. Now this part is done perfectly. Alright, so that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed this video and picked up a few useful modeling techniques along the way. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also comment below and let me know your feedback. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.